the idea for a little discussion tonight was, Ethan and I were talking earlier, and I keep reading like I have no idea myself what's going to change. Well, I do have an idea, but things are going to change. There's a new administration coming, and some companies are going to benefit, some companies are going to suffer. We can already see that some pharma is going to suffer, um, and Tesla might do well. But I'm interested in, and I think, well, actually, I don't want to. Ethan was going to lead this, and he had some ideas as well. But but I'm actually looking for long-term trades, and I'd love to get ones that are aligned with the new administration. But I haven't picked myself personally up off the floor yet to know anything. So I'd love to without the political slant, talk about what might be profitable in the next few years. Like Tesla and like I see chemical companies are all dropping, like Dow is you know falling, looks like a short actually. Um,
Why don't we start? And
yeah,
let me
let's
say this.
you do this, Ethan.
Well, let me just do, so we are the DC Day Swing Traders Meetup group, and we have 1,910 members. And today's discussion is on identifying long-term plays under the new incoming administration. And we're going to avoid politics and just look at what we think is going to do better. So without further ado, let's begin. So, so OKE, my friend from high school, has this. And when we first brought it to the group over a year ago, it was about, you have to even go back further, it was like about $50. And and I was thinking, and I have it on radar, but I haven't been looking at it. And then today I looked at it and I thought, I bet this thing is taking off with the emphasis on oil and gas and the new energy secretary. And then I looked at it and I went 112. Whoa. And by the way, they also pay a 99-cent dividend every 3 months. So back when it was $50, if you could have afforded 1,000 shares, that's $1,000 every 3 months or 4,000 a year just on dividends. So
Well, it's a nice chart to look for pullbacks, but for now, well, this is one to put on a list. When this pulls back to a 20 MA at minor support, yeah, it's to me anyway, that looks that's a nice chart. It's just that this is too extended up for to get into now. But
it's called,
yeah,
just
this
for everyone's edification, it's called 1OK. That's there. It's an unusual name, and you can look it up under Yahoo Finance. And let's put it this way: these guys make a profit, and I like profitable companies.
what do they do? Is it
They,
it's
they
oil?
focus on gas.
Gas, okay.
Let me see if I can find that. Hold on 1 second here.
I just was wondering the industry. Because I think,
Okay, so
old-fashioned energy is going to do well.
right. 1OK engages in gathering, processing, fractionating, transporting, storing, and marketing of natural gas. It operates through the following segments: natural gas gathering and processing, natural gas liquids, and natural gas pipelines. The natural gas gathering and processing segment offers midstream services to producers in North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma. The natural gas liquid segment owns and operates facilities that gather, fractionate, treat, and distribute NGLs and store NGL products in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, New Mexico, and the Rocky Mountain region, which includes the Williston, Powder River, you've all heard of Powder River, and DJ basins, where it provides midstream services to producers of NGLs and delivers those products to the two market centers, one in the mid-continent in Conway, Kansas, and the other in the Gulf Coast in Mount Bellevue, Texas. The natural gas pipeline segment provides transportation and storage services to end users. The company was founded in 1906 and is headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I believe I saw where the new energy secretary nomination is a big guy on fracking. So
Yeah. The last guy was too, right? From 8 years ago.
I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the
Robert,
energy.
You said that you thought traditional energy is going to do well. What is that based on?
The fact that I don't think, from what I know, that the new administration is going to push alternative energy as much. It's like oil and gas are going to be just fine. There's going to be less pressure to to go into new energy sources. That's just what I think. But
Yeah.
like
And
You can only produce so much oil, and right now we are pretty much maxed out, and we're producing more oil than we ever have in the past. There are no restrictions on, well, other than up in Alaska in one area they don't want to drill in, but other than that, there are no restrictions on drilling.
so
And
you're saying it
and
may not continue? Well, you're at
it
capacity.
it could continue to be as good as it is,
Okay.
but I don't think there's anything that's going to be unleashed. Um, the energy policy of the current administration has been pretty bullish towards traditional sources. And you can only produce so much and consume so much. So I'm not confident that it's going to be any better.
All right.
yeah. But remember,
Yeah, I was just thinking less pressure on alternative energy,
but Carl, remember,
less
this
focus.
company is not oil, it's gas.
It's gas. Yeah.
It's gas. And I forget who mentioned this earlier. Was it John about the volatility factor? So one interesting volatility factor, it seems to me, is the electric vehicle. Because you got Tesla, he's pushing the what's his name? Elon Musk. He's going to be pushing electric vehicles in Tesla. And there was also an article out today about removing regulation for self-autonomous driving, which is what Tesla's, invested in heavily versus the idea of being against it. So I don't know which way that's going to come out, but they both can't win. You either have electric vehicles or you don't. Now, the infrastructure bill provides for along corridor I-95 to have your charging stations 1 mile apart every mile. They're supposed to be.
Oh.
So, so there's that. So that's I don't know which way it's going to break, but I'm just pointing that out.
Well, yeah. No, but yeah, it's good to think this stuff through, is what I think. Tesla's on its way back to prior highs. I mean,
Wow. This is
Tesla's lit
monthly?
up.
Oh, monthly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a monthly, monthly. Yeah,
That's a huge green bar there.
yeah. They're going to benefit.
Well, it's actually I don't think it's necessarily EVs that are going to benefit. It's going to be the autonomous driving. So I think that's what's driving Tesla higher. In fact, I think the new administration is supposed to cut back on all the credits that are currently given for EV vehicle purchases, and I think Tesla actually wants that because GM and Ford and these other companies benefit from those EV credits that are currently out there. and if they're removed, Tesla's going to be the probably the main beneficiaries of it. And then it's along the way, the deregulation, the if that it's loosened up on autonomous vehicles, I think that's going to be a major benefit for Tesla. So I think that's why Tesla's going up. But I have a hidden play on that self-driving autonomous vehicle is because I think Google is way out ahead in Waymo. They've got all the Waymo things out in California already out on the roads, and I think Google's a hidden self-driving autonomous vehicle. So I actually have a position in Google as well. So that's part of. They've got a lot of negative headlines of late because of all the antitrust stuff, but potentially with the new administration, the antitrust or those kind of government regulation kind of things may be reduced, and then there's loosening up of the autonomous vehicle. And I kind of look. So I'm more into like kind of less volatile, safer, persistent moves rather than something like a Tesla. So Tesla's probably going to do really good if you can enjoy, if you like going for a ride. But I like Google because it's kind of a little bit smoother. That's just kind of my take on it.
I was also going to recommend we take a look at Mobileye. I'm actually invested in Laser, LAZR, but you know what? Please, we don't want to look at the chart. I don't understand what's happened, but it's
Google's a good chart. I'm
Yeah,
still looking at
like
Google.
that
That's
looks like
another.
a up and handle.
Yeah, Google's a very nice. I mean, it's kind of up there. This is a monthly, but yeah, I mean, again, pullbacks on Google are good too. Yeah, thanks. That was a great
It's a
comment,
good
I
one,
think.
John. Yeah.
Okay.
Back on Tesla for a second. I think all the news I've been seeing, and you didn't mention it here. All the news I've been seeing is about the tariffs on Chinese imports. So I believe it's BYD is a Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer. They're
Correct.
not going to be able to get into the States, and GM and Ford, if they're losing the credits. Yeah, I could see where Tesla's like, okay, it's nobody can play in the US but us. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, that's a good point. China's going to be frozen out, probably.
Yeah.
I'm quickly looking it up. I thought Buffett was invested in BYD.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a Buffett stock in China.
It doesn't look any worse for wear on the weekly. Is that? Oh, that's Boyd Gaming. What's the ticker on BYD? Does it have one?
It's just BYD.
It says Boyd Gaming, BYD. Is that it?
I want to point out, I posted in the chat what I would say is an intriguing article about Google investing in advanced nuclear clean energy. I think that is something potentially big.
Wait, can you repeat that?
I posted in the chat an article regarding Google's investing in advanced nuclear clean energy.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay.
And I think that is potentially a significant big event.
Yeah, nuclear.
Hey, Rob, the ticker for BYD is BYDDY.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. I'll look at this later.
Yeah, I think the nuclear thing is real. It's coming back. Yeah, I mean the BYD chart isn't too bad. I mean, it's in a buy area now on the weekly. Daily's messed up though. Yeah, the daily's hard on this. But yeah, okay. That's an interesting point. This is great. What we're talking about, to me anyway. What hopefully it's beneficial to others, but
Goodness.
I'm just trying to get a, you know, a good handle on what industries. What about defense? Like Lockheed has been falling, but to me that
Palantir.
what's that?
That's Ethan's stock, Palantir. That's a good call on that, Ethan.
Oh yeah,
I
you
have
gotta
that.
in
I
that.
sent that to Rob earlier as one on the list to look at this evening, is Palantir.
Yeah, but Palantir is yeah.
You want to do
You
that
got
next?
gotta pull. Well, I have it up now. You can look
Oh,
at
okay.
it.
All right, so I'll tell everybody what I did. Well, okay. So after I went back and looked at my previous trade. Okay, so I waited, I followed all the hype on Palantir because I understood initially what it did. Most people just don't seem to understand it, but I happen to understand it. I can explain that in a second from a functional perspective. But basically, about 3 days after it IPO'd, I bought it at $9.78, right after it IPO'd several years ago. And then there was this battle at $10. It just couldn't seem to get over it. And finally it did. So I sold it at 11.02 and eventually went back down, if I recall. And I didn't get into it again till about 3 years ago. So I entered at 23.02. So I've held it for 3 years. But as it got closer between $46 and $50, there was a lot of struggle to get over $50. So finally, when it went over 50, I sold it. I guess it was a week and a half ago. And I feel so stupid, but after holding it for 3 years, it's
Mhm.
new members, Sony and Diedrich. So there's my example of a long-term investment. I sold it at 54.32, thinking I was getting a good price. I made a very large profit. So that was good. I didn't expect it to keep going. Even though the kids in stock twists were throwing this stuff out, like it's going to 75, it's going to 100, but they're just throwing out numbers. And I don't do that. And at the time, when I looked at the chart, it was straight up. And I didn't think it was sustainable. And given the battle at 50, I thought $54.32 was a steal. So I sold and it just continued. So I don't know. What do you all think in terms of a year from now? Or, I mean, it's really straight up.
Yeah, it's a climactic monthly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Ethan,
think you're gonna have to see a good reasonable pullback before you want to enter that thing.
Right.
I have a little
Ethan,
rule about that too that I'll add on that comment is I have a rule, never buy the first pullback after a climactic move. That's
Mhm.
usually the one that fails. But yeah, the second one is good.
Yeah. I haven't gone back in. So
Yeah.
I can tell you real quick. See. So,
Well, that thing is totally lit up. I never knew who they even were, and then I saw the guy on TV one day and thought, that's a smart guy.
oh yeah. Well, I'll give you a
what do
quick,
they do?
well, let me,
I have
okay,
no idea.
let me explain that. If you guys are willing to give me 2 minutes, I don't want to bore anyone. So let me explain this. So they've got 3 platforms, and when they started, they had just one platform. So as I looked into it, this is an example of what they do. So I was working for, and I'll try and brief this to 2 minutes. I was working at MCI Telecommunications, and I was working for a friend of mine who was the vice president of finance and treasurer of MCI. And MCI Telecommunications, you all remember that local phone company, long distance. They competing with Sprint at the time and AT&T, and they went and bought USA Telecom. So USA Telecom had a various database that needed to be integrated into MCI. So they had a team of people trying to figure out how to bring that data over from the USA Telecom database to the MCI database, and they couldn't figure it out. So they brought me in to figure it out. So what I did was I looked at each field, every single data field in the USA Telecom database, and I understood the business purpose of the field. And then I compared it to all the business, all of the fields in MCI's database. And then I looked at identified which data using I created a cross-reference table of how that data would translate. So I'll give you an example. So when you move data from an external database to your company's database, you do the following. You either take the data exactly as it is, or you combine it, or if it's numbers, you may summarize it, or you may not use it at all and you just don't take it. So those are sort of the basic functions. So a very simple example, if the old database had two fields, one for first name, one for last name, and the MCI database had one field, which was last name and first name, you would grab the two fields from the old database and bring it across to the MCI database where those two fields got combined into one. So you follow all that so far? It's a simple example. And maybe you have various data, and maybe at MCI, they only contain it summarized. So you might take 3 or 4 fields from USA Telecom database, add them up, and summarize it in your extract program and bring it over to your new database. Okay, now here's the bottom line. Palantir has that entire process automated. So that's how they made a lot of money early on. They've automated that whole process. How they've automated, I don't know. I'd love to talk to these guys because I don't understand how you can automate it without knowing what the meaning of the data is in every single field. And that requires data analysis. But all I can tell you is the entire process they have automated. That was their first platform. And then they went on from there to have 2 other platforms. So that's why these guys are so amazing. And that's why they talk about in their earnings call, and I was just on the last one, they talk about their ontology. So I worked at that at the Department of Defense on a enterprise architecture project. So an ontology is like, it's sort of like an encyclopedia of terms. And once you have all your definitions set up, that is creating your ontology. So when you hear companies, and this came out recently, I think it was AT&T, said that, oh, we're going to develop a competitor to Palantir. And then some of the people in Stocktwits who didn't know any better are panicking. Oh, we need to sell Palantir. Here's this group. They're gonna come up with their own, ontology. Well, that's why Alex Karp, he brought up the ontology several times in the latest earnings call. And that's why he says we're so far ahead. They're so far ahead. It takes years to develop this ontology. It takes years to automate this process that I described, for example, one of the 3 platforms. They're so far ahead that by the time someone else develops it to catch up, Palantir will be that much more far ahead. So they're not going to get caught. That's why they're so amazing. But again, I simply sold because I saw a straight line up, and it just doesn't seem to be sustainable. But so far, it's gone 11 points higher from where I sold it at. So what can I say? As Carl says, and I thought of Carl last week and every day, Carl, you can't always get the top. That's a Carl expression. So,
Yeah.
and Carl also taught us, be satisfied with what you got. So I've been, thinking of you.
Well, yeah, what I remember that I think Carl said that's so valuable is, get your trade. If you leave money on the table, but you got your target, it's not your trade.
Right.
And, just get.
That's my money right there from there to
Right.
there. It's my
Right,
money.
right.
And if it keeps going in that direction, that's somebody else's money. That's not my money.
Right.
I got my money.
Right. Yeah, that's what Carl says.
Yeah, that's what Carl said that. Well, I got 2302 to 5432 is a pretty damn good trade.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. You did great.
I know.
Your problem is you don't have targets.
Well, no, I did have targets, but
Did you hit it?
Yeah, I had several targets and the last one was 5203.
So you hit it.
Yeah, I hit it and went to 5432. So I thought I'll take it.
So the rest isn't your money. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. All
Okay.
right.
Do we want to look at NVIDIA was another one? Just because of their reporting tomorrow, should we take a look at that for the next year or two or as an investment?
Well, it's
anyone have
all-time
any-
highs. It's,
Yeah.
you could. I don't know that it's going to benefit or be deterred from a new administration, though. I
Yeah.
mean, they're just the tech leader now. How's tech going to do? To me, it doesn't seem like it's going to be affected, but
I would say that the um, the new administration is not going to be out enforcing anti-competitive uh, businesses. So, like Google, we just saw. I don't think they're going to be broken up. That was yeah. So I think it's going to be a less uh, um, unfriendly environment for large companies. So I would say tech, Amazon, they're going to be fine. They're going to be just like they're going to worry about Europe maybe trying to bust them up, but they're not going to worry about the U.S. busting them up for another 4 years.
all right. Yeah, that makes sense. And what about financials? Seems to me like they'll do well too. But I don't really have a good handle on it. But like I put JPM on the list here and they're all-time highs too. Look at that big gap after the election. Somebody's buying Chase.